awesome.
Awesome.
That was awesome.
You guys are awesome.
No.
You're awesome.
You are awesome.
Sir, you are awesome. Seriously.
Awesome. Awesome.
Awesome.
Everything is awesome.
Welcome to this week's edition of Everything is Awesome. I'm your host, Kev, and this is the show where we sit down and talk to awesome people about awesome things. And we've done it for now 25 weeks in a row. That's right, we're at episode 25. We've had a couple bonus episodes here and there. We've labeled them 0.5s. So we've technically done more, but this is our true 25th episode. That's a huge number. That's a huge milestone to be proud of. This is, and I know there's other podcasts out there that have been on way longer than 25, and they may look at 25 and say, oh, whatever. But you know what? Coming from a guy who's been podcasting for 9 years and has been working with people who have been in the podcasting world for over 9 years at this point, 25 is a milestone. My first ever podcast, Happy Hour with Steel Tip, only lasted 18 episodes. Creepcast, that one I think went beyond 25, but it didn't go much beyond that. Plenty of podcasts, not just my own, they set out to do great things, and at some point they just kind of teeter out. And sometimes, 25 episodes is almost 6 months. Next week will be our 6-month anniversary to producing shows, episode 26. So, 25 is huge, and I'm very proud to be at episode 25. And before we get to this week's, because I had to make a poll, I had to find someone that was deserving is not the word, because all my guests are deserving for milestone episodes, but someone that I really just wanted to speak to and have a good time with on our 25th episode that we haven't spoken to yet. So before we introduce him, let's do some housekeeping. Let's do a little bit of self-promotion, if you will. Make sure you check out Philly Podcast Festival. That's the big thing at the date of this recording, and also the date of this airing. We are less than 20 days. I think we're 18 days away, 2.5 weeks away from the Philadelphia Podcast Fest. It starts on August 19th, Friday night at 6 p.m. with our good buddy Jeff Stormer of the Party One podcast. We are going on at 2 p.m. on August 21st. That's a Sunday. 2 p.m. at Tattooed Moms on South Street in Philadelphia. We're going live. It's going to be great. It's going to be cool. And I've been trying to give little nuggets of information about our live show as we go on. And this, I don't think we've announced it publicly yet. So here it is, coming right to you, the fans. We sat down, and we already talked about how Mike is going to be my co-host or is my sidekick or whatever for the show. Garrett is going to be the stand-up comedian. He's going to be part of the show a little bit. We're doing a late night format, sitting down with Mike and discussing, like, how are we going to do a live version of me sitting around and talking to people for an hour? We decided late night, like, why don't we do something like a late night show? And I said, oh my God, that idea is genius, because ever since I've been podcasting, I've wanted to do like late night in new media, and now I get to do late night in the afternoon with Everything is Awesome. So we're going to do, it's not, the official late night format, but we're going to do something similar. This Everything is Awesome Live is going to be modeled after a late night show. I grew up with Conan. I'm a fan of Conan. Jimmy Fallon, ever since he's taken over both the late night show and Tonight Show, I've just been a fan of him. So pulling inspiration from Conan, from David Letterman, from Jimmy Fallon, and from even James Corden, like all these guys, Stephen Colbert, they're all great, and they've all inspired me to want to talk in a way, and do the show that I'm doing now. And it's great that I get to kind of do an homage to that in a live show with the audience participating. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, this week's guest. Let's finally get to him. Where would you have known this week's guest? Where wouldn't you have known this week's guest? He is someone that I've been a fan of for years. I'm pretty sure, my parents, or at least your parents, have been fans of this person for years, from their childhood. Maybe even your grandparents, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show the world's greatest detective, the Dark Knight himself, the Batman, straight out of Gotham City. Batman, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Well, Kev, I just gotta say, thanks for having me on the show. I wasn't sure when you first asked me to do this podcast. Is it? I wasn't sure what it was, what a podcast was. So I went to the Google on the internet. Have you ever heard of the Google, Kev?
You mean Google.com? Yeah, it's the popular search engine, and it's not called the internet. I mean, I guess you can call it the internet. It's definitely not called the Google. I'm gonna have to put a foot down there. But yeah, go on, Bats.
As I was saying, I went to the Google and I typed in PODCAST and for podcast. Do I have to spell words on this? Like, people, what? I don't know how it works. It's audio, no video.
Batman, you don't. Let's give our audience a little bit. I mean, we're not all the great detectives that you are, but I'm pretty sure this audience especially can spell the word podcast because they are listening to it.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm just all new to this world, and so I researched what a podcast was, and figured, you know what, you helped me produce a web series for a little bit. Why not? I'll do a favor for you, Kev. So so thank you for having me on the show. I'm very excited to sit down and talk a little bit on your big 25. I remember when I had 25 issues under my belt with my comic book, but more importantly, I remember the 25th punch I threw and the 25th criminal I threw in Arkham Asylum. 25 is a big deal, but you should probably, even look more forward to number 50 and number 100 and things like, after a while numbers stop meaning anything because your life just becomes pretty soulless at the end of the day.
That's pretty bleak, Batman. I want to call what you do soulless. Aside from keeping Gotham City safe, and even, the world to extent when you team up with the Justice League, you do bring entertainment. Like you've allowed your essence, your being, you've allowed this character, you've allowed that to be replicated for entertainment purposes, and it's been great seeing all the different versions of Bruce. And
whoa, I'm gonna stop you right there. What does Bruce have to do with this, huh? Bruce Wayne has nothing to do with this conversation. Do you understand me, Kev?
Okay. Well, I don't want to argue with you, Bats, because I know clearly you can probably punch my face in, and I know you're really good at the whole punching thing. So, but I mean, it's well documented in all the different forms of media, comic books, movies, television shows, cartoon shows, pretty much. I mean, video games. I mean, there isn't a medium we haven't seen the origin of Batman and his secret identity, Bruce Wayne.
I told you, Kev, if you mention Bruce one more time, this is your final warning.
Okay, so we won't, no more B-dubs. Anyway, as I was saying, you have, allowed this character to bring so much joy to people. How does that feel as a superhero, or as, a person, under the mask?
Well, Kev, you know, it's pretty great, I gotta say. Not only have I, loved seeing my character come to life on the page, and then, through various, even the early films, like the theater films, and the 66 Batman was, a weird take on my character, but I did appreciate it. It was, for many of your listeners, Adam West portraying the Batman was many people's entry point into my mythos and glimpse at least the entertainment version of my life. And I think he did a great job to bring some humor to it, because it was dark times for the Bats, and he helped bring some color to it, if you will. Yeah, I'm 32, Batman. I'm 32 years old. So I was born about 18 years after the 66 Batman was a thing. But my dad worked overnights, and my entry point into the Batman universe, and really into the superhero world and comic books and comic book characters, was 66 Batman. My dad worked overnight, so during the day I would be, he'd watch me, and we'd watch some TV, and one of the things that we would watch was 66 Batman. And as kind of hokey or cheesy as it was, campy is the word I'm looking for, it was just a good, fun time. And, I respect it. Adam West, even though it was my entry point into it, I mean, I would never call Adam West my Batman, you know what I mean? Yeah, I totally know what you mean, Kev. My Batman, my personal Batman, is Kevin Conroy from the cartoon, the 90s cartoon animated series. I thought he did a wonderful job at portraying the character, the way that it's, the way I envision myself is basically as Kevin Conroy. Even though I sound like that other guy, when I close my eyes and I just listen to myself talk, and I leave journal entries in my bat computer, I hear Kevin Conroy's voice. Bats, I gotta agree with you. Kevin Conroy is a really, really good Batman. One of my favorites. It's hard to choose between. I have always considered Michael Keaton my Batman. Oh, Keaton was great. I loved '89 Batman. Yeah, he is. I gotta agree with you. It would be hard to pick which one of those are my Batman, right? I mean, Conroy. We obviously we have a lot more exposure to as the Batman. And I think you're right. I think when I read a comic book, when I read a Batman comic book, I do hear Conroy's voice in my head. But if I sit down and we're talking Batman, I'm with my buddies, I'm talking Batman, or I'm with my audience and we're talking Batman, and we now have a generation of kids whose Batman is Christian Bale. Don't remind me. I know he nailed the voice. He did nail my voice, I'll give you that. But he does not hold a candle to Keaton or Conroy. I think Bale was a fine Batman. I think really, and The Dark Knight, the sequel to Batman Begins, is a great movie. But I think that's more Heath Ledger. Oh, don't Heath Ledger. I mean, it brought back terrifying memories of me battling the Joker. He is honestly the living embodiment of the Joker. Jack Nicholson, great. I will, yes, absolutely 100%. You can't touch Jack when it comes to most performances. But Mr. Heath Ledger, God rest his soul, God bless him, he gave me shivers, and it's hard to do that to the Bat. I agree. Heath was an excellent Joker, and he was the sole reason that The Dark Knight was such an excellent movie. But so we have a generation of kids who Christian Bale is their Batman. We're going to have a generation of kids who maybe even already after Batman versus Superman, and I see that you want to say something, Bats, please, let's wait for that. Let's get to that naturally. But we have a generation of kids who, if not already, Ben Affleck is their Batman. And what, a lot of hate went towards
that announcement when they first announced Ben Affleck as Batman, and I personally thought it was good casting. I mean, I haven't seen Batman versus Superman myself. I've seen clips. I've seen clips of Justice League, and I like what I've seen. I've heard really good things about Batman, or Ben Affleck as Batman. What are your thoughts, Bats?
Well, I am a huge fan of Ben Affleck. I think he's a great actor. He was 100% the bomb in Phantoms, but I still don't think I myself, and I can hold off if you want, have not seen Batman versus Superman. But, from what I've seen, like I said, I like what I've seen, but I don't think he's quite on the level of Keaton or Conroy.
I mean, that's a fair assumption. I think Affleck will be my second, or third, depending on. I put a tie on Conroy and Keaton, but I think Affleck's gonna be a very close second to those two. But we now are in a world where we have these conversations of who's your Batman. They did it in the movie Neighbors, where Seth Rogen, his character, his Batman was Michael Keaton, and Zac Efron, the character he played, his Batman was Christian Bale. So we live in this world where a lot of people can pick their Batman. Usually the big ones are like, oh, I'm an Adam West. Adam West is my Batman, or oh, Michael Keaton's my Batman. Now we're getting to the world where Bale's my Batman, and soon, we're gonna have a generation of kids saying Affleck. I just think we live in a great time, and I think everything. It's rare to see something with your iconic look. You're an icon. It's hard to see anything in the entertainment world with any kind of I've never seen something I was like, ooh, that's not a good Batman story.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to when you have something so great, and I know this sounds like I have an ego, but I mean, think about it. All those other heroes are fake. There's no real. The guy who plays, the real Superman from Metropolis, he's a dude from the Bronx, He just dresses up in a costume and has strings, and it's all special effects. All right? The Aquaman, that's a dude from Hawaii who can swim real well. They almost got Michael Phelps to portray Aquaman in real life. So these real life superheroes, they're all fakes. But me, the Batman, I really witnessed my parents die in an alleyway in Gotham City as a young Bruce Wayne.
Whoa, Bats, I mean, are you admitting right now, you threw a fit about, me mentioning B-dubs, are you admitting that you have a connection?
Listen, Kev, disregard what I just said. All I'm saying is I'm a real guy who puts on real tights, who works out for real, who takes real martial arts classes, who studies every kind of fighting that there is, who judges UFC fighters for not knowing what they're doing. I'm a real guy who fights real crime, who deals with real criminals that are really psychotic. Not, sometimes we throw in some of the more showy villains. Sometimes I'll hire someone when it's slow and I got all the other criminals in Arkham Asylum already. We don't want people to forget that Batman exists. So sometimes we do hire some flashy villains. But at the end of the day, I'm real. My villains are real. And I make sure that justice is served in every possible way. So, when you start with something that great, it's hard to produce something that's anything less, but at least, and to use one of your phrases on this show, a little awesome.
Well, I mean, hey, thank you for kind of quoting one of our shows. We are a big fan of things being awesome. So, and I have to agree, I mean, there's not much that I've seen, even, with the comic books, when they rebooted, and I know this has happened before, it's going to happen again, it has happened again, but when they kind of rebooted that DC universe, and we got the New 52, Batman, and I was always a Batman person, but I was never a DC Comics reader, and I didn't really read much Batman comics as a kid. I was always a Marvel kid or just random kid comics and stuff. But with the New 52, they won. They sold me on buying a Batman #1, and oh man, do you read the comics? Well, every now and then I will pick up a Batman or a Detective Comics or any of the various lines in the Bat family. But I'm not an avid reader of the comics. I don't have time to sit down and read, and I don't belittle the comics by saying picture books. I think, I think you're about to say that the New 52 run with Scott Snyder was a great run. Yeah, exactly. I was going to say that, and you are right. 100% right. And I read some of those issues, and they were really good. So, respect to all the comic book authors and artists out there. But I have, when I sit down and read, I'm usually reading something that sharpens the old mind. I'm reading something to get better at being a detective, at being better at reading my enemies. So I don't read comics too often, but every now and then I'll grab my bat goblet, I'll drink some bat wine, and I'll sit down in the bat chair in the bat cave, and I'll sit back and read some comics. And how about, did you read issue 5 with Scott Snyder's run on Batman and the New 52? Batman, we're like this, man. I was gonna bring that up. Issue 5 in Scott Snyder's run is, first of all, Quarter Owl's great storyline, and issue 5. I don't know if it was written that way or if the artist Greg, I'm gonna butcher your last name, Capullo. I don't know whose decision that was, but to do like a theater of the mind and you feel Batman's mind getting warped, and you have to flip the comic book around on different pages to read the story, and it was I forget what year that came out. I want to say 2014, maybe 2013. I forget when, but that is probably still my favorite single comic issue to date out of everything I've read. I gotta agree. I think that it just was stunning. That's all I can say about it. It was absolutely stunning. If anyone out there that wants to read a comic book for the first time, I highly suggest you start with Scott Snyder's run. Excuse me, on Batman in the New 52. So, now, you started off talking about Adam West and enjoying that, and so let's 89 Batman, and Conroy you said was your Batman, and the animated series is great, and it did produce, it produced Harley Quinn, such an iconic character these days. Oh, yeah, you know what? Little known facts. So the Joker, he's as real as they can be. He's in Arkham right now, thank God. He hasn't, I think they may have tightened up security enough to make sure he does not break out this time. And I make frequent trips to inspect the grounds and make sure he's in solitary. He gets his 3 meals a day. They're not monsters there at Arkham. But, they have him, I think, locked away pretty good for the time being. Now Harley Quinn, I'm going to pull the curtain back a little bit. Just like the comic book, I saw this character on the animated series, and I said, oh, this would be an interesting character to hire. I mentioned earlier we hire characters to portray people. So we hired an actress to portray her, and it was a bad move on our part, because similar to Dr. Harleen in the comic books and the animated series, we accidentally let this poor soul let her mind get warped by the Joker. We thought we selected someone that could resist it, but it turns out the Joker can, I'm one of the few minds, the great minds,
that cannot be affected by the Joker. So we accidentally created a real life Harley Quinn. And it's not Kevin Smith's daughter. I mean, she's a real life Harley Quinn for sure, but she's not psychotic. She's, great girl. I've met her. Great girl. Not psychotic like the comic book character, the cartoon character, or like the accidental character we created in Gotham City.
Okay, so I've taken two things from this. One, so you've met Kevin Smith and his daughter.
Well, I've talked to her on the phone because, oddly enough, she found my contact info. It's really easy. Somehow, you, Harley Quinn Smith, you found my contact info fairly easily.
Well, I mean, all I had to do was shine a bat light in the sky, and you found me.
That's true. I guess I should really only have the one in Gotham. Anyway, she contacted me. I don't know.
Okay, so she contacted you to meet. So why?
Well, she contacted me because her old man, Kev Smith, he is.
Yeah, I know. He's a huge fan of Batman.
Have you heard his show, Batman on Batman? Pretty good podcast.
So you've listened to it before?
Well, so obviously after I Googled what a podcast was when you asked me to be on it, I Googled Batman podcast, and that was one of the first that popped up. So I gave it a listen. I had to. It was about me.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know the podcast. I listened to it. Actually, the original incarnation of that show is Long Form Interview. What this whole show is kind of based off that, and based off his show, based off the stylings of Aaron McGathy and Aisha Tyler.
Yes. Listen, Kev, don't think I'm a fool. I'm the world's greatest detective. You don't think I've listened to a couple of your Everything is Awesome shows? I've heard you basically verbally blow Kevin Smith, Aaron McGathy, and Aisha Tyler over and over again. We get it. You're a fan.
That's a little hostile, Bats.
Sorry, I'm tired of hearing you say it.
Okay, fair enough. Let's move on. And the other thing I took from that is that you like what about the girl's family? Did you ruin this girl's life?
Well. She signed a waiver, so everything's cool, or at least that's what. You know what? That's on. I get Jim Gordon. He kind of is running with that. He okayed it. Him and the DA's office. They're handling all that. I really, and it wasn't even my idea, to be honest. It was someone else's idea.
Sounds like some standard PR back talk.
Listen, let's just put this on Front Street right now, Kev. Bruce Wayne and this Harley Quinn thing are now off the table. Do you understand me?
Okay. Calm down, Bats. Alright, so, yeah. Animated series is great. Kevin Conroy's performance is awesome. It produced Harley Quinn. I mean, and maybe it's different for you having dealt with the real life Joker, but I mean, for me, Mark Hamill's portrayal as the Joker is the only voice I've ever heard. And I will say, as far as best Joker that we've seen from the early days to now, I can't really speak for Jared Leto's Joker.
Do not get me. He spits in the face of the legacy of the. And I mean, maybe the Joker legacy needs a spit in the face, but that is, I'm. You know what? Jared Leto's Joker off the table as well.
Okay, fair enough. But out of all, I mean, even Heath Ledger's legendary performance as the Joker, I still think that the best Joker to date is Mark Hamill. He does such a wonderful job with it, and he's done, him, Conroy, all those cats from the animated series have done so, that have stuck with it for over, God, I mean, I think it debuted in 92, between 92 and 94, I think, so like over 20 years. It's a really great to see those guys stick with it, and B, just see them kind of, make the characters their own and stand up against live action versions. Well, I think between Ledger, I don't think, in my opinion, Hamill does a wonderful job, but you don't get those shivers the way that you get from Ledger. And when I occasionally read a book, even when I deal with the Joker, sometimes, when he's talking, I get lost and I think that it's Mr. Heath Ledger, because Ledger did a great job. I mean, Hamill's my number 2. I'll put that on the table right now. That's fair. And Keaton, for, like we mentioned, was my guy. But I think that the Nolan universe that he did with Christian Bale, even though it introduced us to that ridiculous voice. What are you trying to say, Kev? That my voice is ridiculous? Well, no. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying Christian Bale's voice is ridiculous. He had to commit for 3 movies and talking like every time as Batman. He had to talk like that. That's a commitment. I don't get it. What do you mean it's a commitment? It's my voice. Okay, I'm gonna take this part of our conversation, and the table where we put B-Dubs, Harley Quinn, and Jared Leto's Joker. I'm just gonna put this whole voice subject on that table, if that's okay. You get 1, Kev, and this is your 1. Watch your step. Okay, fair enough. So Christian Bale was, the Nolan universe, I think, is some of the better Batman movies we've seen. I've enjoyed them. And I mean, definitely, I still don't think it holds a candle to 89's Batman, but I may even be in the minority now about that. And I think like here's the difference, and tell me if you agree. The difference between Christian Bale and Michael Keaton, not necessarily as actors, but as their portrayal as Batman, is that when I watch Christian Bale do his Batman and his B-Dubs, I don't think he could do Keaton's movie. I don't think he could play Keaton's Batman. I don't think he could play Keaton's Bruce. But I think Keaton, maybe not Keaton of 89 could play Christian Bale's Batman, but Keaton as an individual now, like, he obviously portrayed Batman in 89 and in 91, 92 when the sequel came out. But I think him as an actor could portray Christian Bale's Batman. I think he could have done it, at least now. I think he's got the gravitas to do it. I will agree with you there, Kev. I think that might be a first. Now, I'm pretty sure we agreed on a couple other things, but, let's just table that. I told you got 1. All right. We won't table it, but, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, I will agree with you that I think as good as Bale was, Keaton was better, and Keaton could definitely do both. Yeah, no, that's the only reason I give it to Keaton. Now, I think Ben Affleck is someone that can do all 3 performances. His performance, the Keaton's, and so I'm really interested to see him as Batman. Well, I will agree that I'm interested in seeing him as Batman, but we'll just have to see what happens. All right, Bats. I think, I know normally on this show we go an hour, and you deserve a full hour, Batman, but I know you're a busy man. So are you free? Can you go a little bit longer? Kev, I'll tell you what, just for you, I will go another 10 minutes. All right, fair enough. Let's go another 10 minutes. So I just wanted to get your opinion on the state of things. Like the DC, the big topic is DC Extended Universe, and how that is playing its role in the big movie thing. Like, are you a fan of the Marvel stuff? Well, Kev, I think the DCEU has dropped the ball
you know, Man of Steel, garbage, in my opinion.
I gotta agree with you. I wasn't a huge fan. You know, it wasn't necessarily a bad movie. It was just a bad Superman movie. It was just a bad Superman movie.
It was a bad movie, Kev. And this shit that Snyder pulled, Zack Snyder, Scott Snyder, he's amazing. But Zack Snyder, you're an asshole. I'm saying it right now. The real Batman is calling you an asshole. And this Batman versus Superman garbage. I haven't seen the movie because it is garbage. Okay, you know, you're introducing a new Batman to the universe. You're establishing a universe off a movie that blew monkey balls, okay? And you have this shitty, and you know what, Henry Cavill, I am sorry, because you are an excellent actor. You were giving shit to work with, so it's not your fault, but you're introducing a whole universe with this shitball of a movie, The Man of Steel. You're basing it all off that he broke someone's neck. He let his father die when he could easily run and save the goddamn dog, okay? Listen, this whole universe is gonna be shitty because it's built on the back of a shitty movie.
You are passionate about this.
Kev, let me finish, okay?
Go.
Okay, so you have the shitty movie that you're building, whereas Marvel, your competitors, my competitors, they start their universe off back of a drunken slob, Tony Stark, okay? By the way, the real life Tony Stark, he's a real nice guy. He does like to knock back a few not as totally drunk as he is in the comics and the movie, but you have a drunken slob like Tony Stark as the back of your universe, and they build little blocks from there, and they create one of the greatest. They are one of the reasons we have cinematic universes today, okay? Snyder and the WB or whoever's in charge, you dropped the ball. You built it off of a shitty movie. And now you're, instead of building little blocks to try to repair that shitty back building block that's holding this whole universe up, you start off with Batman versus Superman, and you introduce every single character in the DC universe. You are a bunch of morons, okay? You're a bunch of morons. And oh my god, you know why people care about the fight between Batman and Superman? You know why they cared about it when we did it in real life? Why they cared about it in The Dark Knight, Frank Miller's book that he based off what really happened? Because I became friends with this dude Steve, okay? This dude Steve who portrayed Superman for a little while, okay? He was a great dude, alright? And we fought crime. Now, it was usually fake crime, because remember, actor. But we fought crime, or we hung out. We knew each other for years. We knew each other for like a solid decade. And then we did the whole, let's give them what they want, hero versus...
All right, sorry about that. We keep getting cut. So hopefully Bats, go ahead and finish what you're saying, and then we'll wrap up from there.
You know what, Kev? I'm getting real sick of this shit. I'm having to take a break every 2 minutes because you keep hitting stop on your recorder.
Won't happen again, Batman.
As I was saying, Steve and I, after a decade of being friends, we said, let's give them what they want. Let's give the people hero versus hero. Let's give them the fight of a lifetime. We had 10 years of friendship. We had decade. And then, you know, just like in the book, there was just decades of friendship. That's why people cared, Kev. That's why people cared about Batman versus Superman. You, Zack Snyder, you piece of shit. You ruined my legacy of that fight. You ruined Steve's legacy for that fight. You ruined Frank Miller's legacy for depicting that fight. You, sir, are just a complete asshole, okay? No one cares about Batman versus Superman when there's nothing at stake. You know why people cared about Marvel's Civil War? Why they cared about Tony versus Steve, Iron Man versus Captain America? Because we've had years to get to know them as friends, okay? That's why they cared. You piece of shit. And then you go and you combine a shitty looking Doomsday in this movie. Oh my god, there's just too much, Snyder. Too much. Okay? You know what? That's it. You know what, Kev? I'm done. I'm done talking about this. I have to go back to Gotham. Thank you for inviting me to your studio, which, by the way, is your freaking car. Really? This is a shitty experience. I'm sitting here in your car recording. I could have done this shit over Skype from the Batcave in my underwear. But no, I had to fly to Pennsylvania for this. So thanks for letting me waste Bruce Wayne's money on his private jet to get out here while he conducts business, and I come here for this stupid podcast of yours, okay? You know what? You know who's a bigger piece of shit than Zack Snyder, Kev? You are. You are a huge piece of shit, okay? If you ever talk to me again or contact me, I will punch you in your dopey little face. Do you understand me? So thanks for being on the show. And yep, he's getting out of the car. He's out of the car, and he slammed the door. Okay. He's running into traffic now and hopping over the grappling hook up to that building, and he's gone. Okay. That was a awkward interview, I gotta say. It was intense, and we'll leave it at that. So read Batman. He doesn't really have anything to plug. Read Batman comic books and watch Batman stuff, even the bad stuff, in my opinion, because every iteration of Batman's great, and we need more superhero stuff in our world because it's just so fun to be a geek these days. Anyway, Some more housekeeping. Just to remind everyone, August 21st, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the Philly area at Tattoo Moms on South Street. If you're in the Philly area, come check it out. Everything is awesome. The late night in the afternoon edition. It's going to be so much fun. We're getting ready. I think we're going to have our guest finally booked, and I'm excited to tell y'all who it is. That news hopefully will be dropping next week. So check that out. PhillyPodFest.com for more information on the podcast festival. Check this show out on AwesomePodcast.com, on Twitter at RealAwesomePod. You can find me on Twitter at HHWST. Again, that's at HHWST. You can send us an email at awesome@creativemstudios.com. Or you can leave us a voicemail at 267-223-4965. Please make sure to help spread the word of this show. You can support this show in one of three ways. The new way, support us on patreon.com. Patreon.com/awesomepodcast. We have some goals that we're trying to meet, and we have some awesome rewards for people that do back us, like early access, exclusive content, stuff like that. And one way to support this show, you can also, what's also really helpful is tell a friend. Just tell a friend to listen to Everything is Awesome. The more ears on the show, the better, and hopefully people keep spreading the word. And of course, and I ask that everyone do this, even if you support us in other ways, because this also is a huge way to get us in front of more people so that we can book guests like Aaron McGathy, like the Batman, and other people that we're trying to go after, and more people that listen to the show. And the way they can do that is if you rate us and subscribe to the show on iTunes, rate and review us. 5 stars is preferred. We'll read those reviews on the air here. That helps with iTunes math to get us in front of more eyes, which means we have more listeners, and we can be recognized by some people, some pretty cool people. Everyone I talk to is awesome. Everyone I talk to is cool. The point of the show is talking to interesting people. But a guilty pleasure of mine would be to sit down and talk to
famous people that I get to sit down and watch on TV and be entertained by. So I did that with Erin McGathy. I was able to sit down and talk to her. I did that with the Batman, as you just heard. So I'd love to do more of that. And we recently, we also did that with Ace Marrero and some other cool cats and whatnot. So it's cool. I just want more of it. I want more people to talk to, and the only way that happens is with the support of you guys, which you've already shown us plenty of. I'm just asking for a little bit more. If you don't mind. All right, so for Everything Is Awesome, we're in the month of August, which is Philly Podcast Fest month, which means we're doing 2 episodes a week. That's right. So on Fridays, Wednesdays and Fridays is when you're getting episodes for the month of August only. So 25th episode was Batman. Next, on Friday, our next guest is going to be, and I keep screwing up her name, Amara, I believe. I think I got it right. Amara Steele from, she's the DM of A Quest for Magic and Steel. Add the extra E for entertainment. So she'll be on the show Friday, and then her dad, who is actually kind of like the host of the podcast, will be on the show next week for part 1 and part 2 of his conversation that we had with him. So a lot of cool things happen in the next couple weeks with our cool, awesome guests and whatnot. So make sure you listen. So for Everything Is Awesome, I'm your host, Kev, and I was going to steal Jason Ashley's line of, remember to stay awesome, but not too awesome. And I don't know. Thanks for listening, guys. It's been a crazy, the interview with Batman threw me for a loop. So you've been listening to Everything Is Awesome right here, only on awesomepodcast.com.